being yourself is one of the greatest lies that somebody ever told me. Let me tell you why. The reason why being yourself is not true is because when we try to think of ourselves, in a way, it's kind of like we are clinging on to our past. So I like to break it up in 3 different sections for you to kind of think about. Past, present, future. And Master Oogway said it best. Yesterday was history. Tomorrow is a mystery. And today is a gift. That is why it's called the present. And so in a sense, when we be ourselves, it's kind of relating to who we are in the past. And oftentimes, I find people telling me that they feel so unsatisfied. Yet they're doing the same thing over and over again because that's what they're used to. Their past. And in the realms of career paths, there's finance and whatnot. That's all in hindsight. Accounting, the safe jobs, it's based on things that we know. It's based on things in the past that we know and we observe and we find out about. However, let me just tell you that when we cling on to the past so much, we objectively lose sight of the future. And what I mean by that is you right now. You have goals, you have dreams, but you also have regrets. And you're very complex in the sense that you live in both past and future at the same time. And oftentimes, a lot of people find it hard to find motivation for the things they want to do. Let's say working out, or going on a diet, or reading a book that they left on their counter for 10 years, me too included. We lose our sense of motivation because it's not what we're used to. And it's hard to imagine the future that we don't know, we don't even see who we are. That's why being yourself is kind of the greatest lie. That gives us comfort because we should be fine the way we are. But humans, unfortunately, don't seem to work that way. I've recalled so many times where I felt unsatisfied with my performance, whether it be in grades, whether it be in just like a random social interaction. I've had plenty of bad moments, but all in all, I don't regret it because I tried my best during that time and it's experimenting in the right direction, past, future. In the future, we have an idea of who we want to be. You want to have 6-pack abs. Maybe you want to have thicker hair. Maybe you want to be a certain way. And the truth of the matter is, by being a certain way and imagining yourself in a certain way, that's called your ideal self. And the opposite side of being yourself is fake it till you make it. See? Past, future. It's all connecting together. But faking it till you make it doesn't feel right for a long time. Trust me, I know. I am an introvert, gamer background, as you can see over there. And I like to stick to myself. But over time, I've evolved into a person that enjoys social interaction because I want it to be like that. I want to be like, in BoJack Horseman, Mr. Peanut Butter, or the likable guy. Over time, I've taken some steps in order to be more like the characters that I want to be like. And so those are all indicative of your ideal self, or who you want to be if things were perfect. I would say a nuance to that is, make sure that you are aware that you're taking steps in that direction. But make sure that you know that inevitably in the future we don't know who we'll become. So don't punish yourself for straying off the path that you set out to go on. And don't punish yourself because you take some actions that may not be so perfect. Because at the end of the day, I think it's all about experimenting. And by experimenting, we find out bits and pieces of the puzzle that we want to become. And in life, I don't think anyone truly knows exactly where they want to go. Think about college, think about high school when you have to apply to colleges, think about finding a job where you have to find a career. Nobody truly knows exactly what's going to happen. But I think that's the best part of it. And so in order to find direction, I'd like you to pick maybe 2 characters that you like. They can be real people like role models. Think like David Goggins or, I don't know, kind of somebody that you look up to. And think of a character who's fictional. Think from a movie or from a book or maybe from your imagination. Whenever you come to a crossroads in which you have to decide, what do I want to do? Choose one of those role models our ideals and try to put them in your shoes. What would that character slash person do? And oftentimes, I think our actions and motivations become a lot more clear because we have something to bounce off of. Because it's just ourselves in our head all the time. We'll stick to what feels comfortable to us. And what sucks about that is when we stick to what's comfortable, and some of you might be saying right now, well, what if growing is painful? Well, that's true. But so is all things. The pain of growing and becoming a better person, and also the pain of regret and not being able to see what would have happened. I think in both ways, we try to protect ourselves. But in this constant reaffirming cycle where we think we're okay the way we are, especially in 2024, I think a lot of us are jumping to the gun to accept ourselves. I know there's a lot of self-love and self-acceptance that goes behind it, but I want you to balance it with also reaching towards your dreams and really shooting for the stars. Because you always have the person you were. You always have those comforts and the things that you used to like, the habits. It's easier to fall back on them than it is to build somebody new. And I like to open up this kind of topic with a story. When I first entered college, I went to community college, I had a choice to kind of reinvent myself. This is the time where most people do get to change, say from high school to college, from college to university, or university to a full-time job. Whenever you change places, you can kind of change yourself. And I took it on myself to experiment in ways that I've never experienced before. I went with $100 to Atlanta and New York. And in retrospect, it wasn't the safest thing to do. And it wasn't necessarily the smartest thing to do. Imagine me in my button-up shirt and dress pants going down the street, and suddenly the lights were very dark and it seemed very unsafe. That kind of environment. So in retrospect, it wasn't a great idea, but just the action of that, just the premise, I want you to kind of take away. By doing things that I've never done before, I was making new acquaintances, having new conversations, exploring perspectives that I would never have known otherwise. All because I chose to not be myself. Because I know many of you, and maybe you and me, we're tired of the way things go sometimes. Whether it be familial, whether it be in career, whether it be in school, anything, any topic that you think of. Sometimes there comes a point where we're tired of the way things are, yet we can't do anything about it. By doing something so not like you, I think we get bits and pieces of who we want to be. And for a long time, I kind of separated into two people. And now this is very unhealthy, but I'll tell you the secret. So there's Leon, who many people know me by. That is like a person I want to become. And then there's me with my gaming background, introverted nature. That's On. That's my original self. From Vietnam, born and raised for a little bit of time. But these two people acted in different ways. One person was a socialite, wanted to be a very high and mighty person. Another person liked to stay intimate and with his games and just be quiet, enjoying the things that I like to enjoy. But for a long time, I separated it into two things. And what ended up happening was who I knew and who I wanted to be started separating so much that I didn't even know who I was anymore. I would say be careful when you try to fake it till you make it. Because at some point, you won't recognize the growth that you had from who you were. After 4 years of doing things that I would have never imagined myself doing, for example, traveling around the world, making friends here and there, being a realtor and talking to adults is very scary, I promise you. But doing all these things started separating from my quiet self that just enjoys my own hobbies in my own time. The best way to do it is to balance. Because I know that you may feel unsatisfied with yourself right now. That's okay. But know that there's a lot of good aspects of you and who you are. I'd like you to choose at least 3 things. And I'll wait. 1. 2, 3. Okay, at least by now you have one thing, hopefully. From there, you can build off of that and choose what path you want to go on. Remember those characters that I mentioned earlier, fictional or real? Your foundation is who you are. Don't ignore that. Don't ignore your past, but definitely don't just be yourself. Have your foundation of the traits that you like based on how long you lived so far. You may be 10, maybe older, probably, and you'll choose the traits that you like and keep on building the buckets that really fulfill you. What I knew was I was a hard worker at my core, and I liked to help people. In the past, it took form in people pleasing, it took form in doing a lot of unhealthy things, but at the core, it was helping people. And through time, it kind of evolves in a way where now I help people with, say, you and me talking right now, or I help people with mentorship in terms of their career, because I found some tips and tricks that might help them. Based on my foundation of helping people, it has evolved into this. And to this day, I feel like I'm pretty happy with how things are going. And it's because at the end of the day, my mission is to help as many people as I can, and in a healthy way. And that took some experimenting and evolving over time. But overall, the only reason why I was able to do it in a healthy way is because I took reference from people who are doing it like that, or characters that are doing like that. It may be real, it may not be real, but it's experimenting towards that direction. With you, you may be kind to a T, you may be smart, but maybe introverted. It's about taking pieces of your core nature and evolving it in a way that's progressive, step by step. And I know it feels like you want to go complete 180 sometimes. I understand. After the past school semester, I was overweight because I just binge ate all the time to cope with how much stress I had. But I was able to evolve that habit into something more healthy, say journaling. In fact, I journal every single day about my thoughts and my stresses and my concerns at the moment. Helps me become more aware, see the end of the tunnel, instead of going into a negative thought loop that goes to infinity. So with that core, I was able to make the slow steps to eventually change. And now I'm healthily dieting. I'm not going on the crash diets that I used to go on before, where I rubber band from 180 to 140 and all the way back. It's a mess, I promise you. But taking it slow seems painful. It does, because you don't know exactly if it's working or not. But it's well worth it. If you know you're doing the right thing, and you know that you're moving in the right direction, it's worth it. And right now, I'd say that the coping mechanism that I have of overeating, it's kind of slowly returned to normalcy, in which I'm eating a satisfying amount, and I'm being aware of what I eat, and I taste what I eat, being very much in the present with what I have, with the awareness of how I want to be in the future. I know I'm very comfortable with stress eating, but just by having that awareness to stop the habit and try to build myself progressively in the right way, I feel a lot more content. And I feel pretty happy with my progress in that regard. I'll tell you another story, as we're in the physical topic. I used to not be able to do one pull-up. And more than just one pull-up, I couldn't even do one push-up. Yeah, I was in a state where I was really overweight and I just couldn't do the physical actions that I've always dreamed of. And so I found a good model for reference. Chris Heria, you can search him up on YouTube. He's a very good calisthenics guy. And so I took a reference of who I wanted to be like. And even before him, it was Jungkook from BTS. Because I liked the way he looked and I liked the way he could do all sorts of stuff. He was mystical. With those models in mind, I started to work out a little bit more. And at first, I couldn't do one push-up, and it felt really sad because, come on, I should be able to do one, right? Wrong. The reality of the situation was that I had to progress to the point there. And eventually, I got one down. One quickly became two, and two became seven became 10, and I know at my max I was at like 50 in a row. As for pull-ups, it was a harder matter, but I used to only be able to do assisted pull-ups at my school gym where You put your knees on this pad and you get assisted to get pushed up. Or the pad pushes you up and you pull, so it made it a lot easier. And yet, during that time, I kind of felt embarrassed because I saw these dudes in my school, they could always do these pull-ups super fast, super easy, and I'm like, why can't I exactly be like that? So that kind of comparison wasn't necessarily the healthiest because, again, I was comparing myself with something that's more of who I want to be. Remember when I said there can be a big rift between the two concepts? Exactly. Comparison is really deadly in that sense. That's why I want you to remember that when you try to grow, you're taking pieces of who you are and building off of that foundation. You're not trying to do some 180 thing where you used to eat a lot and now you're just going to eat nothing. You're going to fast for 7 days to lose weight. No. You're not going to be a person who just randomly picks up playing an instrument and just plays every single day consistently. No. And consistency, it comes and goes. Okay, we can't be consistent forever. But the main thing to remember is just to stay a little bit out of your comfort zone, to grow, to not be yourself, but also keep in mind that you're building off from who you are. It may be parts of yourself, but don't keep your whole identity around what you do and what habits you may have, because all of it can change in a matter of time. And wouldn't put so much pressure on yourself to be a certain way or to be like yourself in the past. In life, it's really hard to stay balanced, but if there's one lesson that I've learned from all the mentors I've had and all the conversations, thousands of them across the nation, is to maintain your balance. You may be moving at 1 millimeter per day, but it's moving in the right direction. And if that sort of experimentation is good enough for you, and you feel happy that you're making progress, and just happy in the intention of the action, then you're moving in the right direction. And as long as you move in the right direction, I'm sure you'll be happy. So maybe at the beginning, I lied a little bit. You should just be yourself, but keep in mind of the person you want to be. This is Leon, signing off.